In this video, we are going to discuss the qualitative analysis of organic compounds. So, what is the meaning of qualitative analysis? Qualitative analysis is nothing but the detection of elements. Detection of elements present in the organic compound. Detection of elements present in organic compound. OC is nothing but organic compound. And the process of the phenomena of detection of elements present in the organic compound we call it as qualitative analysis. Now, if they given you the organic compound, okay, first of all we should know what are the elements present in the given organic compound, and that phenomenon, the detection of elements present in the organic compound we call it as qualitative analysis. And how can we detect? So let us discuss one by one. Okay, the first one is detection of carbon and hydrogen. Detection of carbon and hydrogen. How can we detect the carbon hydrogen present in the organic compound? Yes. To detect that, first of all, let us take organic compound. OC means organic compound. Don't be confused. To this organic compound, you add Cu, copper oxide. By adding copper oxide, if you heat it, suppose if the organic compound having carbon and hydrogen, generally all organic compounds must and should have carbon and hydrogen. So when we mix organic compound with the copper oxide followed by the heating, the carbon that was present in the organic compound will oxidize into carbon dioxide. Okay, and the hydrogen present in the organic compound will oxidize into what? Water. Okay, the carbon is oxidizing into carbon dioxide, hydrogen is oxidizing into water. That means here copper oxide is acting as what? Oxidizing agent. The copper oxide will oxidize the carbon into carbon dioxide, hydrogen into water. But they both are colorless. CO2 is a colorless gas and H2O is also colorless. Yes, how can we confirm that? To confirm that, what I am doing, when you send this mixture through lime water is nothing but what? Calcium hydroxide. When you send this mixture into calcium hydroxide, what happens? When CO2 will react with the lime water and we get what? CaCO3, milky precipitate will come. Milky white precipitate will come. It confirms the presence of carbon in the compound. Okay, next to confirm the water present in the mixture, what they do? They send this mixture through anhydrous copper sulfate solution. As when the copper sulfate is in anhydrous form, what is the color of this? Colorless. Okay, it is colorless now. But when you send this mixture through the anhydrous copper sulfate, we are getting CuSO4.5H2, means hydrated copper sulfate. That is what? Blue in color. Okay, it confirms that. Okay, in the mixture both CO2 and H2O are present. If CO2 is present, means there should be a carbon in the compound. If H2O is present, then there should be a hydrogen in the compound. So like this they can detect the presence of carbon and hydrogen. So this is the detection of carbon and hydrogen. Let us move to the next important model test. That is what? Lessons test. Lessons. So very important test. Lessons test. Okay, so this is the test that we use to detect. This is used to detect three elements. Now, what are those? To detect nitrogen. Okay, to detect the nitrogen, Lessons test we follow. Sulfur, and halogens. In that halogens also, what are the halogens we can detect? Chlorine, bromine, iodine. Total how many elements we can detect by this Lessons test? Nitrogen, sulfur, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Total 5 elements we can detect by a single test. So that is what we call as Lessons test. But this Lessons test is a process of 2 steps. Okay, in this Lessons test, how many steps are there? 2 steps are there. Let us discuss. And the step 1 is common to all these elements, but the step 2 is only different. Okay, yes. What is the step 1? The step 1 is nothing but the preparation of sodium fusion extract. The preparation of sodium fusion extract. Okay, that is the step 1, and step 1 is common to all the elements, all nitrogen, sulfur and halogens. Yes, how can we separate the sodium fusion extract? This is a long process. Let us discuss this. Okay, first of all, you take a small ignition tube, small ignition tube. So it appears like normal test tube only, but it is very small, as like if you do the bulb, 60 candle bulb, there was a filament. Okay, as like in that size, this ignition tube will be there. It's very small test tube. Okay, and it is having high thermal resistance. Okay, now what happened? You heat the ignition tube until it becomes reddish hot. Okay, until it becomes reddish hot. Okay, you heat the ignition tube. After the ignition tube becomes reddish hot, then now you add addition of sodium metal to this ignition tube. Now you add small amount of sodium metal into this ignition tube, and after the addition of sodium metal, again further heating. Again you heat it until it becomes what? Reddish hot. Okay, until it becomes reddish hot, you further continue heating. Okay, so after it becomes reddish hot, okay, immediately that ignition tube, you plunge it in mortar. So immediately you grind it in a mortar. Okay, so in the laboratory it's like this. By using this mortar in a small amount of water, immediately after the ignition tube becomes reddish hot, immediately you plunge it in the mortar and you grind it completely. You grind it. After you grind it, what happened? You filter that. Okay, after the filtration, what happened? But it is a glass tube, right? Even if you grind it also, there was what? Chances of glass pieces. So if we filter that, all glass pieces have been separated, and then that supernatant solution. That supernatant solution is called what? Sodium fusion extract. This supernatant solution we call it as what? Sodium fusion extract. Sodium fusion extract. Like this, we can prepare the sodium fusion extract. Once again, I am telling. Take the ignition tube, you heat until it becomes reddish hot. To this reddish hot, you add small amount of sodium metal, and you further continue the heating until again it becomes reddish hot. Immediately you plunge it in the mortar, then followed with the filtration. That resultant of supernatant solution we call it as what? Sodium fusion extract. You may get that out. What is the reason why we need to do these all steps? Okay, so because of this, doing this all, we are converting the organic compounds into inorganic compounds. That is the main one. Okay, why? Because organic compounds directly will not react with the chemical reagents. Okay, so first of all, we need to convert these organic elements into inorganic elements. That is why to convert organic compounds into inorganic compounds. Okay, how we are doing this? Let us see. Suppose it is a given organic compound. In this organic compound, okay, one second. In this, after sodium heating, if there was a carbon and a nitrogen we need to detect. There is a nitrogen. We need to convert this nitrogen into an organic compound. How? Nitrogen combined with the carbon and sodium. Why? Because we added the sodium now here. Okay, sodium. And the organic compound having nitrogen, so the sodium will combine with nitrogen and a carbon, and they forms finally what? NaCN, sodium cyanide. It is an inorganic compound. Similarly, the organic compound having sulfur, okay, it combined with the sodium, they forms what? Na2S, sodium sulfide. If the organic compound having halogens, they combine with the sodium and they form the corresponding halides. Like this, it converts, but because of this process, okay, we are converting all these elements into their compound forms. Means organic compounds into inorganic compounds. To do so, we did dissolve sodium fusion extract. Okay, now from here after we should take this sodium fusion extract only, not direct organic compound. Okay, let us detect the first one, detection of nitrogen. Detection of nitrogen. Yes, how can we detect the nitrogen? In the Leysin's test, how can we detect the nitrogen? Okay, to this sodium fusion extract, add freshly prepared ferrous sulfate. Okay, freshly prepared ferrous sulfate. Okay, after the addition of freshly prepared ferrous sulfate, add 1 or 2 drops of concentrated H2SO4. Concentrated H2SO4 to the walls of the test tube. So after the addition of concentrated H2SO4, followed by the heating, finally we will get a Persian blue color. Persian blue colored precipitate will come. Persian blue colored precipitate will come. So if there was a Persian blue color precipitate, it confirms the presence of nitrogen in the compound. If there was no blue colored precipitate, there was no nitrogen. So once again, to the fusion extract, add freshly prepared ferrous sulfate. Thereafter add 1 or 2 drops of H2SO4 concentrated. Okay, then immediately we get what? Persian blue colored precipitate. What is the reason? Why? And they may ask you sometime in Leysin's test. The Persian blue colored is because of which complex? So like that questions also they may ask you. So let us see the mechanism. What happens during the detection of nitrogen? Yes, in sodium fusion extract, what is there? The nitrogen is present in the form of cyanide form, sodium cyanide form. So to this sodium cyanide, what we added? Ferrous sulfate we added, freshly prepared ferrous sulfate. Okay, so that we get FeCN2 plus Na2SO4. Okay, first when you add the freshly prepared ferrous sulfate to the sodium cyanide, first of all what we get? Ferrous cyanide we got. Now in the second step, to this ferrous cyanide, okay, if we add 4 more moles of NaCN, finally what we will get? Na4FeCN6. So what is the name of this compound? Sodium hexacyanoferrate. Sodium hexacyanoferrate. So after the addition of ferrous sulfate to the sodium cyanide, in this first step, to the fusion extract, freshly prepared ferrous sulfate, if we add, what is the complex we got? Sodium hexacyanoferrate. Okay, now after that, if we add concentrated H2SO4, what will happen? Is this all ferrous sulfate will consume? No. Why? Because even if you take a lesser amount of some ferrous sulfate will be unreacted. So that unreacted ferrous sulfate means ferrous ions will react with this concentrated H2SO4. That means that this concentrated H2SO4 will oxidize these ferrous sulfates into ferric ions. Okay, what is the role of concentrated H2SO4? Concentrated H2SO4 will oxidize the ferrous ions into ferric ions. Now, these ferric ions, now they will go and react with the sodium hexacyanoferrate. Finally, we get ferric ferrocyanide will come. Okay, so 4 moles of Fe plus 3 ions will react with the 3 moles of Na4FeCN6 thrice will come. We will get Fe4FeCN6 thrice will get. So what is the name of this one? Ferric. Why? Because this Fe4 is there and this is in plus 3 state now. That is why ferric. And this complex, the iron which is within the complex, that is what? Plus 2 state. That is a ferric ferrocyanide. Ferric ferrocyanide. Because of the formation of this ferric ferrocyanide, we are getting Persian blue color. So what is the complex which gives or which imparts Persian blue color to the Leysin in the Leysin's test? Fe4FeCN6 whole thrice. The name of the complex formula also you should remember. Fe4FeCN6 taken thrice. This complex imparts Persian blue color while you are detecting the nitrogen in Lesson's test. So clear? So this is the mechanism of Lesson's test during the detection of nitrogen. Next, let us discuss detection of sulfur. Detection of sulfur. Yes, to detect the sulfur, we have two options. One is to this fusion extract, to the sodium fusion extract, add lead acetate, CH3COO twice lead acetate in presence of acetic acid. Okay, when you add lead acetate to the sodium fusion extract, so in the fusion extract, what is there? Sulfur is present in the form of sulfide. Na? Okay, so in the sodium fusion extract, what is the form of sulfur? Na? Sodium sulfide form. And this sulfide will go and combine with these lead ions, and we get what? PBS, and the PBS will precipitate it out. So this is what? Black colored precipitate. So after the addition of lead acetate to the fusion extract, if you, in the presence of acetic acid, if you get a black colored precipitate, it confirms the presence of sulfur. This is one option, one process of detection of sulfur. And one more process is also there, that is what? Sodium nitroprusside solution. Sodium nitroprusside solution. Yes, let us see what. To this fusion extract, to the sodium fusion extract, add sodium nitroprusside solution. Sodium nitroprusside solution. Okay, after the addition of sodium nitroprusside solution, we will get violet colored precipitate. Violet color or purple color. Okay, it confirms the presence of sulfur. Okay, let us see. They may ask you the complex which imports this violet color also, they may ask you. So let us discuss the completely. Fusion extract. So now Na2S, to this Na2S, to this fusion extract solution, add sodium nitroprusside solution. What is the formula of sodium nitroprusside also, they may ask you. What is the formula of sodium nitroprusside? That is Na2FeCN5NO. Sodium pentacyano-nitrosoferrate. Okay, Na2FeCN5NO. So this is the sodium nitroprusside solution formula. So sodium nitroprusside solution formula is Na2FeCN5NO. So to this, when you add the fusion extract solution, what is the complex we get? That is Na2 becomes Na2 plus Na2, Na4. So Na4 FeCN5, and the sulfur will go under insertion within the complex. So NO becomes what? NOS. So this is the complex which imparts violet color. Okay, they may ask you the formula of sodium nitroprusside solution or the formula of violet color also. So this is about the detection of sulfur. Here one important point you should remember now. Suppose if the given organic compound having both nitrogen or sulfur, both are present. Okay, then how to detect? So to this organic compound, to the organic compound having both nitrogen and sulfur, that means nitrogen is in the form of cyanide and the sulfur is present in the form of -2, S-2 sulfide. So to this, okay, you add neutral FeCl3 solution. Neutral FeCl3 solution. When you add the neutral FeCl3 solution, immediately we will get brick red colored precipitate. Brick red colored precipitate confirms the presence of both nitrogen and sulfur. Okay, what is the reason? Why we are getting brick red colored precipitate? So cyanide means carbon Cn minus S-2 and Na plus, all they join together and we will get NaSCN. What is the name of this one? Sodium thiocyanide. Sodium thiocyanide. Now to this sodium thiocyanide, when you add ferric ion, neutral ferric chloride, okay, we will get FeSCN thrice. Because of the formation of this, we are getting red color precipitate. So this is what detection of nitrogen and sulfur. Okay. Now let us we move to the third one. Lazare's test not only useful for the detection of nitrogen and sulfur, it is also useful for the detection of halogens. So detection of halogens. Yes, let us see how to detect the halogens. Yes, to this organic, as we know, while we are preparing the sodium fusion extracts, all the halogens are converted into what? Halide ions. Okay, now to this fusion extract solution, to this halide ions, okay, add silver nitrate AgNO3 solution in presence of concentrated HNO3. There was an important role with this concentrated HNO3. I will tell you later. Detection of halogens. So to detect the halogens, take the fusion extract solution, sodium fusion extract solution. In the fusion extract solution, halogens are present in the form of halides. Now to this fusion extract solution, add silver nitrate solution in the presence of concentrated HNO3. It plays a very important role. Okay, I will tell you later. So after addition of HNO3, what happened? The Ag plus ions will go on to combine with the halide ions and they forms AgX. AgX. Especially if it is a chloride. Okay, chloride will form which halide? AgCl. AgCl is a white colored precipitate. Okay, AgCl is what? White colored precipitate. And if you add ammonium hydroxide solution, it is soluble. It is soluble in the ammonium hydroxide solution because of the formation of AgNH3 twice Cl. Because of the formation of this complex, it is freely soluble in excess of ammonium hydroxide in case of chloride. Next, if it is a bromide, will form which salt? AgBr salt. It is a pale yellow colored precipitate. Pale yellow colored precipitate. And if you dissolve this in ammonium hydroxide, it is sparingly soluble. Sparingly soluble in ammonium hydroxide. Coming to the iodide, if you take the iodide ion, iodide will form what? AgI. AgI is a yellow colored precipitate and it is almost insoluble in excess of ammonium hydroxide. So by this we can differentiate which halide ion present. Okay, chloride ions will form AgCl. It's a white PPT and it is a completely soluble in excess of ammonium hydroxide. Bromide ions will form AgBr. It is a pale yellow colored precipitate. It is sparingly soluble in excess of ammonium hydroxide. Whereas iodide ions will form AgI. This is a yellow colored precipitate and it is a completely insoluble in excess of ammonium hydroxide. It conforms. So by doing this, we can confirm which halide ion present in it. Okay. So next, what is the important role of HNO3? Let us see. Suppose, along with the halogens, if there was the presence of nitrogen, sulfur. Okay, that means in that organic compound, nitrogen is there, sulfur is there, and also halogen also there. Okay, nitrogen and nitrogen will combine with the carbon and they forms what? NaCN. Okay, sulfur will combine with the sodium. They forms what? Sodium sulfide. Okay, because of the formation of this cyanides and the sulfides, nitrogen forming cyanides, sulfurs are forming sulfides. So before the halogens will go on react with the silver ions, these cyanides and the sulfide ions may go on react with silver ions and they form the corresponding AgCN and Ag2S, silver sulfides. So suppose if cyanide ions are reacting with Ag plus and they forms AgCN. So sulfide ions are reacting with combining with the Ag and they forms Ag2S. So in case of presence of nitrogen and sulfur, instead of we are getting silver halides, we are getting what? Silver cyanides and silver sulfides. So to prevent that, what we need to do? To prevent this formation of AgCN and Ag2S, what we are doing, to this mixture, we are adding concentrated HNO3. Okay, so concentrated HNO3 we added na in case of reduction of halogens. When you add this concentrated HNO3 to this mixture, this concentrated HNO3 will convert this NaCN plus HNO3. We are getting NaNO3 plus HCN. Similarly Na2S plus HNO3 gives rise to 2 moles of NaNO3 plus H2S. So like this it is converting this cyanides and sulfides into some other forms. Like this we can prevent the formation of silver cyanides and silver sulfides. So that is why we should add HNO3 along with silver nitrate solution to detect the halogens. So this is what detection of halogens by Lejenes test. Okay, so Lejenes test was finished. And one more thing, here we need to in case of halogens only, we need to know Bilstein test. Bilstein test, and one more test we should know, that is what chloroform test or chlorine water test. Chlorine water test or chloroform test. Okay, Bilstein test. What is this Bilstein? And these two tests are we used to detect the halogens only. Especially the Bilstein test is used to detect halogens, and the chlorine water test or chloroform test, this test is to differentiate bromide and iodides. Why? Because in Lejenes test, while we are detecting the bromide ion and iodide ion, AgB are forming which color precipitate? Pale yellow color precipitate. AgI yellow color precipitate. They both are yellow only. So again there was a problem. Okay, both precipitates are yellow color only. So which is exactly bromide or iodide? To confirm that, we follow this chlorine water test. Okay, anyhow, let us discuss this Bilstein test first. Okay, so you take copper gas, copper wire. Okay, you heat this copper wire until in a oxidized flame, Bunsen flame. Okay, you heat this tip, means this Bunsen copper wire, the tip of copper wire in oxidized flame of Bunsen burner until its blue color disappears. Until what time you need to heat it? You should burn this copper wire until it disappears blue color. That means this flame is blue color. Until the blue color disappears, you should heat this copper wire. Okay, you should continue heating until it disappears blue color. Until the blue color disappears, we need to heat this copper wire on the oxidized flame of Bunsen flame. After the blue color disappears, immediately you take out that copper wire, you just dip it in organic compound. Just touch the organic compound. Again you continue heating on the Bunsen flame. Okay. After you keep on heating on Bunsen flame, again if the blue color appears, if the flame of the oxidized flame is blue colored again, it confirms the presence of halogens. That's it. Simple test. Take the copper wire, you heat the copper wire in the Bunsen flame, Bunsen burner until that blue color disappears. Immediately you touch it in an organic compound. Again you reheating. Okay, on reheating, if you get the blue color, it confirms the presence of halogens. Okay, but it has some drawback, the Bilstein test. Okay, the Bilstein test not only, so one drawback is, okay, it gives positive result towards urea also. Is it urea having any halogen? No. Urea is NH2CO, NH2, no? There was no halogen, but still urea also giving positive test. Okay, so like these ureated compounds, some of the examples which are not having halogens also giving positive result towards Bilstein test. That is one drawback. And one more drawback is it is failed to detect which halide ion it is. That is a chloride, bromide, iodide. It is just giving the idea whether it is present, halogen is present or not. But which halogen it is present, it is not giving any hint about it. So these are the two drawbacks of this Bilstein test. Next, let us move to the chlorine water test or chloroform test. So in this chlorine water test or chloroform test, okay, so now here logic is to this AgCl AgBr, as we know, fusion extract solution you take, fusion extract solution, to this fusion extract solution. So in fusion extract solution, okay, sulfur, not sulfur, this chlorine and bromine, they both are present in the form of bromides. Okay, that is what NaBr, NaI. To this fusion extract solution, you add chloroform, and after the addition of chloroform, you send chlorine waters. You send chlorine water. Now what happened? What is the reaction between NaBr and chlorine? You just take the example NaBr on reaction to chlorine. What will happen? Chlorine is more reactive than bromine, right? So chlorine will displace the bromine and they form what? NaBr plus chlorine. Sorry, NaCl plus bromide ions. So the chlorine is more reactive than bromine. So it will go and displace the bromine. So the bromide ions will go on to dissolve it in chloroform. So this chloroform, it gives the color of bromide ions. What is the color of bromide ions? Yellow color. Okay, so if the color becomes what? Brown color, reddish brown color, it confirms the presence of bromide. And suppose if it is a NaI, so NaI reacts with the chlorine and they forms NaCl and they liberates what? Iodide ions. And after the iodide ions dissolved in chloroform, the chloroform solution becomes what? Violet color. So it confirms the presence of iodide. So like this, to differentiate whether it is a bromide or iodide, which test we follow? Chlorine water test or chloroform test. So this is about the Lezen's test and detection of halogens. Phosphorus. Detection of phosphorus. Yes, how to detect the phosphorus present in the organic compound? Okay, take the organic compound. To this organic compound, you add an oxidizing agent, that is what? Na2O2. Na2O2 is a salt of H2O2. So it is an oxidizing agent. It oxidizes the phosphorus present in the organic compound into phosphate. So what is the phosphate we are getting? Sodium phosphate, Na3PO4. Okay, Na2O2 will oxidize the phosphorus into phosphate. Now to this phosphate, add HNO3 acid, so that the phosphate becomes what? Phosphoric acid. The sodium phosphate will be converting into what? Phosphoric acid. Now to this phosphoric acid, add ammonium molybdate. Ammonium molybdate. So when after the addition of ammonium molybdate to the phosphoric acid, we are getting ammonium phosphomolybdate. Ammonium phosphomolybdate, which is yellow colored. The formation of this yellow colored confirms the presence of phosphorus. Okay, once again, to the organic compound add Na2O2, so the phosphorus is oxidizing into phosphate. To this add HNO3, so that phosphoric acid will get. To this phosphoric acid, when you add ammonium molybdate, we are getting ammonium phosphomolybdate, which is yellow colored. It confirms the presence of what? Phosphorus present in the organic compound. So by these tests, we can detect the elements present in the organic compounds.